welcome to the mat today. We're going to be focusing on the lower back today, which is where a lot of people, especially men, hold on to their emotions. And so we're going to open that space up, bring a little bit more air, space, and releasing of emotions. So let's get started off on our back. And bring the feet as wide as the mat. Knock the knees in together. And let the arms fall where they will. Just noticing what you're bringing to the mat today, and see if you can let any of the external pressures or the wandering mind, just let it go. Focus only on the breath as it comes in and out of the body. And over the next breath, send the knees back toward the sky and walk the feet back in to hips width distance apart. Bring the heels in close enough to the body that you can almost touch them with your fingertips. We'll just get started here with a couple of gentle bridges. As you inhale, press into the feet, arms are long by the side. Slowly roll up through the lower back, middle back, and upper back. It doesn't have to be your highest bridge ever. As you exhale, slowly lower down. Feel the spine in connection with the mat. One more time, inhale it up. And exhale down. On the next one, you can have the option of bringing the arms with you. Press into the feet, arms come up and overhead, backs of the hands find the ground behind you. As you press into the feet, notice the thighs engage. See if you can press into the feet a little bit more, maybe to find a little bit more height. And exhale to slowly lower all the way down. Arms come along by the sides. Take one more of those. Inhale the arms up and overhead. Hips are high toward the sky. And stay as high as you are, but see if you can let any of the ease out, or let any of the tension out, and let this pose be a little easier. Exhale to slowly lower down, arms come down by the sides. And then bring the feet as wide as the mat once again. Sweep the arms out of the way into a cactus or a T. And then just rock the knees from side to side in a gentle windshield wiper motion. And notice if you can release anything in the lower back, or if the body is gripping onto this movement. And if you feel that gripping sensation, the next time your knees come over to the right, just let them stay there for a breath or two. And then bring them back to center and send them over to the left. And bring them back to center. And then bring the knees to 90 degrees, flex through the feet. So you're likely to have a little bit of the arch in the spine here. So maybe use your hands to scoot your tush down toward the bottom of the mat so that you no longer have that curve in the spine. And then knees at 90 degrees. And bring the hands to the thighs. So this is an isometric movement here. Make sure that the lower back is tucked to the mat. Press the thighs into the hands, hands into the thighs. So the core is engaged, the lower back is in connection, and you can feel the energy traveling from the hands to the thighs and back. And then release. And one more time, hands to thighs. Back is fully in connection with the mat. It really doesn't look like I'm doing much. But if you should be able to feel this, feel the power, and feel the back in connection. And then soften back up. Maybe let that a little bit of an arch return to the spine, just a little bit, and release the arms out to the side. Flexing through those toes. And then remove the arch from the back by connecting the spine with the mat and getting strong through the core here. You can bring the feet and the thighs and the knees together. So zip the legs together. They're still in 90 degrees and slowly drop them about 45 degrees over toward the left. And then come back to center. And about 45 degrees over to the right. So that opposite hip might come off a little bit, and that's all right. Slowly moving from side to side. Once again, this is a relatively small movement. We're giving a little massage to the lower back as well as beginning to open it slowly. And the next time the knees come over to the right, let them drop all the way down. For me, this means that my left shoulder comes slightly off the mat. That's all right. And hug the knees in toward the chest. One more breath. And then using your core, bring the knees back to center. And drop them over to the left. So hug the knees in toward the chest. Gaze over the right shoulder. Use the core, bring it back to center. And then hug both knees into the chest. You can even bring the forehead or lips up toward the knees. And release it out long. Arms come up overhead, legs go long toward the bottom of the mat. Once again, find yourself in a tiny ball. Clasp for the back of your thighs this time. And then give yourself a rock and roll until you come all the way up to a seated position. Send the legs out long in front of you and inhale the arms up and overhead. Bend through the left knee, the left sole of the foot comes to the inside of the right thigh and twist over toward the left. Wrap the forearm around the knee. Inhale the arms up and overhead. And just find a little counter twist by bringing the palms to the outside of the right thigh. Twist through the belly so that you can release through the back. Come back to center. And switch the bend of the knees. Left leg goes long, right knee goes up toward the sky. Inhale the arms up and overhead and twist over toward the right, wrapping the forearm and twisting through the belly. Unwind, find your counter twist. And then bend through the left leg as well and just kick the legs out to the side, coming into table. So shoulders and knees are below hips. Take a couple rounds of cat-cow, drop the belly, lift the gaze. Press into the palms and then exhale to round the spine, drop the crown of the head. So we're opening up the full spine here. If you want to hold an extra breath in cow to feel that lower back stretching, then you can do that. Always moving at your own pace and with your breath. The next time you come into cat, really round through the spine and send the hips back toward the heels, coming into a modified child's pose. Tent the fingertips out long in front of you. Forehead can melt down toward the mat. Let the face be soft. And then keep the fingertips where they are. Send the toes together and scoot the knees out as wide as your mat, coming into full child's pose, keeping it active. Chest melts down toward the mat. And then plant the palms and slither yourself forward however you want to get there. All the way onto your belly. Hands are at push-up height. Legs are zipped up. Inhale up to baby cobra. And exhale to release. Bring the hands out beside the mat, tent the fingertips, and rise up into super cobra. And exhale to release. Take 2 more super cobras, really finding this fluid motion as you rise. Head rises last. And as you lower, forehead touches the mat. 1 more time. Legs are zipped up. Send the arms out long in front of you. And hover the arms up off the ground. Hover the forehead up off the ground. And begin to bend through the elbows. Find cactus elbows, maybe toward the center of the back. They won't touch. And then release it back out long in front of you. So lift from the chest. Stay long through the lower back as you bend through the elbows and then send them back out in front of you. Just take 1 more. And lower down. Bring the hands back into push-up height and push back into tabletop pose. And then tuck the toes, downward facing dog. Pedal it out here. Hug the shoulder blades under the body. So you're kind of rounding them out to the side so that you find a nice long flat back. And bend as much through the knees as you need to, especially for the lower back, to stay nice and gentle. You can even send that belly back toward the thighs. So hips are nice and high to the sky, and then straighten any amount through the legs. Heels melting down toward the mat. Inhale the right leg back up behind you and bend through the knee to open the hip. Exhale, release. Knee toward the nose, rounding through the spine. And then step that foot in between the hands, lower the left knee down. We haven't done too much hip work yet, so be gentle with yourself here. You can keep the toes tucked or untucked. And then bring the hands up to the right thigh and release the hips back a little bit so that knees are both bent. Inhale the arms up and overhead and twist over toward the right, twist through the belly. From here, reach the right arm back as if you're going to touch any wall or furniture behind you. And then reach down toward the calf or foot. Stay bent through that front right knee. Left arm is high toward the sky. And then arms back into a T. Sweep it forward. Reframe the right foot, plant the left palm, right arm floats up to the sky. Twist through the belly, stay lifted through the chest. And release back down. Tuck the left toes and step back to downward facing dog. Inhale the left leg back up behind you. Bend through the knee. And then release back to three-legged dog. Left knee toward the nose, rounding through the spine. And then step forward. And lower the right knee down toward the mat. You can keep those toes tucked or untucked. And the hips come back. Both knees are bent. Bring hands to the left thigh. Release the arms up and overhead. And twist over toward the left. So reach back with that left hand. So we're going to touch your wall behind you. You might get a little wobbly like me. And then lifting out of the chest, you can drop that back hand. Right arm is high toward the sky. Stay lifted. And then arms back into a T. Sweep it forward. Reframe the left foot. Left arm floats up to the sky. And then reframe. Tuck the right toes. And step it back, downward facing dog. You can pedal it out here if you want to. And then just drop the knees down to the mat. Untuck the toes. And come back to sit on your heels. So we're gonna stand on our heels here for just a moment. So imagine that there's a string pulling your chest and your heart up toward the sky. So you have to sit up nice and tall. That means that you're lifting out of your lower back rather than crunching into it. Lift out, and then sweep the arms up and overhead. Drop the left arm behind you, right arm is high toward the sky, and then send the hips high toward the sky. And lower it down. Left arm comes back up and overhead. Right arm drops. Hips lift nice and high. Moving from side to side, recentering, and then dropping the arm, lifting the hips. Finish the round that you're on, and then take one more to the left and to the right. And we'll meet sitting on our heels with arms up and overhead. And then find yourself into the palms. Readjust the legs. And take a round of cat-cow. Inhale to drop the belly, lift the gaze, press into the palms. Exhale to round the spine, drop the crown of the head. And come back to center. Push it back into downward facing dog. And roll forward into plank pose. And then lower down onto the forearms. So we're in forearm plank here. And just rock back and forth on the heels. So you should feel the core engaged. And then come to stillness. We'll stay here for 3 rounds of breath. Press into those forearms to stay strong. And then lower the pelvis down nice and slow. Untuck the toes. Sit the legs together and find yourself in a Sphinx pose. Press into the forearms, gaze in between the thumbs at the top of the mat. Tuck the toes, return to forearm plank. And then lower the pelvis down, Sphinx pose. Send the arms out long in front of you as you lower the forehead down to the mat. And then get really long through the left toes, the left leg, engaging it so much so that the knee, maybe the thigh comes off the mat. And then raise it off the mat as you raise the right arm. And lower down. Get long through the right foot, point the toes, right leg comes off the mat, left arm. And just take a few of these movements from side to side. Opposite hand and foot. Finish your round. And then bring the forehead down to the mat. Sweep the arms out to the side. Zip the legs together. So arms are in a T. And then begin to drag the left arm in close to you. So the fingertips are tented and the elbow is pointed up toward the sky. And then roll onto the right hip. So hip on hip, and you can stay right here. Or you can begin to bend through the top leg and plant the foot behind you. So you should feel a release through the shoulders and through the lower back. One more breath. And then unwind. Bring the forehead back to center, the arms out in a T. And we'll move to the other side. So tent the right fingertips, draw them close to the body and rock onto the left hip, hip on top of hip. You can stay right here, or you can bend through the right leg, planting the right foot behind you, knee faces the ceiling. Over the next breath or two, unwind. And then roll all the way onto the back as we close out this short sequence. Sweep the arms out to the side, cross the right ankle over the left thigh, and just rock that entire figure four over to the left, getting a little more release of pressure or emotion in the lower back as the gaze goes over the right shoulder. And see if there's any place where you can soften a little bit more. Maybe it's through your breath or letting your head be heavy on the mat. And bring the figure four back to center. Uncross the legs and cross the left ankle over the right thigh. And then rock your figure four over to the right as the gaze goes over the left shoulder. Bring it back to center. Uncross the legs. Take the feet as wide as the mat. Knock the knees together. And then bring one hand to the belly and one hand to the heart. Assuring your body that it's okay to let go of the emotions that you hold in your cells, in your fascia, in your lower back. Just acknowledge what you brought to the surface. Surround it in love and release it to the universe. And then send your legs long toward the bottom of the mat. Arms out wide, shoulder blades ever so slightly hugged under the body and eyes closed. Take the next few minutes or as long as you like to enjoy this rest in Shavasana. Namaste.